Oh my goodness. I have to take a breath before I start this because I went into your energy today. And what I found waiting for me there was not what I expected at all. The energy was different, lighter than I have felt it in a while, buzzing almost, like the specific feeling of a room right before something significant is announced, when everyone in the room can feel that something is coming before they know what it is or from which direction or in what specific form. But the feeling is undeniable. In the electric and anticipating quality of the air right before the announcement, that is what your energy feels like right now. Right before, and the right before is very close to the during, in the specific and near form of something that has been building and is now at the edge of arriving in the visible and real dimension of your actual life. Welcome, my beautiful soul, and get ready to celebrate because what is fated cannot be stopped, and what is coming for you is fated in the specific and earned and arriving form that I am going to describe for you today in full detail, so you know exactly what to look for and exactly how to receive it when it finds you. Uh, Before I tell you what is coming, I need to speak to something I feel in your energy that is sitting underneath the buzzing and the electric quality of the something fated approaching, because it is important and it would not be right to skip past it in the excitement of the celebration that this reading is building toward. There is a specific kind of guardedness in you right now. I feel it clearly. It is not fear exactly, and it is not doubt exactly. It is something more specific than either of those. It is the particular guardedness of someone who has been hopeful before and has watched the hoping produce something less than what was hoped for, in the specific and familiar form of a situation that looked like it was going to deliver and then did not deliver, in the full and expected form that the hoping had been building toward before the not delivering arrived, and the hoping had to be rebuilt from whatever was left after the not delivering had taken what it took. Um, you have been through that cycle more than once. In the recent period, and the guardedness is the intelligent response of someone who has learned from the specific and personal experience of hoping and not receiving, that some protection of the hoping before the delivery is confirmed is the more sustainable form of navigating a situation that has produced the not delivering before, and that could theoretically produce it again. If the full and unprotected form of the hoping were allowed before the delivery was confirmed as the real and arriving thing, rather than the anticipated and hoped for thing that might or might not arrive. In the full form, Spirit is asking me to say something to this guardedness directly, and I am going to say it because Spirit is emphatic about it. In the way that Spirit is emphatic when something needs to be said clearly rather than gently or in the softened form That would make it easier to hear, but less effective in producing the shift that the saying of it is for this time is different, not in the wishful form of someone who wants this time to be different and is therefore saying it is different without the actual basis for the claim of difference. That would make it more than wishful. In the specific and energy-based form of someone who is reading the actual field around your actual life right now and finding something in it that was not present in the previous times when the hoping was building towards something that did not deliver. In the full form, what was not present in those previous times and is present now is the specific and particular quality of something that has been set in motion from outside the ordinary mechanics of how things happen when they happen because of the ordinary combination of effort and timing and circumstance that most good things require to arrive in the form they take when they are the ordinary good things, rather than the fated ones. Fated things feel different in the energy field from ordinary good things. And I want to describe the difference because the description will help you recognize what is arriving for you as the fated thing it is, rather than as the ordinary good thing that it might appear to be in the surface form of how it presents itself when it first becomes visible in your actual life. Fated things have a specific quality of rightness that ordinary good things do not always have in the same form or with the same immediacy. The rightness is the feeling of something fitting in the specific and precise way of something that was made for the exact space it is filling, rather than the approximate way of something good. That fits reasonably well into the space it is occupying without the precise and exact quality that the fated thing has. When it arrives in the space it was always going to occupy. For the person it was always going to arrive for, I want to describe what the guardedness in you has been costing, because I feel it and I think it deserves to be named directly before the fated thing arrives, and the guardedness is no longer needed in the protective form it has been taking. In the preceding period, the guardedness has been costing you presence in the specific form of someone who is in their life but not fully in it, because a part of them is always managing the distance between what they hope and what they allow themselves to hope in the guarded form that protects against disappointment by not fully committing to the hope that might not deliver in the full form that the unguarded hope would produce if it were allowed to be fully present in the conscious and declared interior, rather than the protected and partially suppressed form that the guardedness maintains as the sustainable alternative to the full and exposed hope that previous disappointments made feel too expensive. And the guardedness has been costing you joy in the specific and daily form of the small and available joys that the guarded person sometimes cannot fully inhabit because the inhabiting of the small joy feels somehow at odds with the vigilance that guardedness requires in the monitoring of whether things are going in the direction of delivering or not delivering what has been hoped for. In the guarded and partially suppressed form, that is the sustainable version of the hope. The guardedness is protecting. Spirit is showing me something now that I find deeply moving, and that I want to share with you in the specific and honest form of what I am actually seeing. In the energy around this moment, for the specific person reading this, the guardedness is about to become unnecessary in the arriving form of the faded recognition and the faded choosing that are both incoming now. And that will produce in the specific person who has been guarded the particular and beautiful experience of the guardedness relaxing in the slow and embodied form of someone who has been holding something tightly for a long time and who is now, in the presence of the arriving faded thing, beginning to feel in the cellular and physical dimension of their experience that the holding can be released into the receiving form that the faded thing requires of the person it is arriving for. That releasing of the long-held guardedness into the receiving of the faded thing is the celebration the title is pointing toward, as much as any external event or material recognition or relational choosing. That is also arriving in the same general and buzzing period of the faded convergence that this reading is describing. You will feel the rightness in the specific and embodied form of something clicking into place in the interior of your own experience of the moment of the arrival, as a felt sense of this is exactly right in the full and physical and undeniable form of something that the body recognizes before the mind has finished assessing whether it should be recognized as the thing it actually is. Trust the body recognition. When it arrives, before the mind has caught up to it, in the assessing and qualifying form that the mind brings to everything, including the faded things, that do not require the assessing and qualifying to be what they are, but that the mind will attempt to assess and qualify anyway, because that is what minds do with everything they encounter, including the faded things that were already known by the body before the mind arrived to do its work. Now let me tell you what is specifically faded for you. In the arriving and celebrating form, that the energy is showing me right now in the field around your life. Spirit is showing me two things arriving in the same general period, close enough to each other that the celebration is for both of them. Simultaneously, in the specific and overwhelming form of someone who receives two significant arrivals at the same moment or close enough to the same moment that the celebration is not sequential, first this, then that, but simultaneous, both at once, in the form that is producing the buzzing and electric quality of the air in your energy field right now. The first thing is a recognition. I keep coming back to this word for you because Spirit keeps placing it in the center of the reading as the most important arriving thing in the material and professional dimension of your life. Someone with the authority to recognize you is about to do exactly that. In the specific and material form of an opportunity or a position or a yes to something that changes the shape of your daily life. In the practical and tangible dimension of what you do each day and what that doing produces for you and for the circumstances of your life, in the forward moving and life altering form of something significant, having finally been recognized by someone who can do something about the recognizing rather than only notice it, without the authority or the position to convert the noticing into the material form that the recognition deserves. The second thing is more personal and in some ways more significant than the material recognition because it touches the dimension of your life that the material recognition cannot reach in the specific and interior form of what matters most when the material dimension has been addressed and the interior dimension is still asking its own quieter and more persistent question. Someone is choosing you in the full and declared form of a choosing that is not tentative or partial or hedged with the conditions that partial choosings carry when the person doing the choosing is not yet sure enough or not yet ready enough or not yet willing to do what a full and unhedged choosing requires of the person doing it in the exposed and committed form of someone who has decided and is declaring the decision in the real and visible space between them and you. The choosing is full and it is coming in the fated and arriving form of something that was always going to happen between these two specific people at this specific moment in the specific chapter of both of their stories when the conditions were finally right for the full and unhedged choosing to be possible for the person doing the choosing who is now in the position of being able to choose in the complete and declared form that the fated quality of the connection was always building toward. I want to say something about the word fated because I have been using it throughout this reading, and I want to give it the honest and specific meaning that I intend for it, rather than the mystical and passive meaning that it sometimes carries when it is used without the specificity that makes it honest. Fated does not mean it happened to you. From outside yourself, without your participation, or your choices, or your becoming in the period that produced the conditions for the fated things to arrive in the form they are arriving in. Fated means that the specific combination of who you are and what you have done and what you have become was always going to produce this specific convergence of the recognition and the choosing at this specific moment in this specific chapter, when the combination is exactly right, for both of these fated things to arrive simultaneously in the buzzing and electric form that I felt in your energy field today. Before I had even asked what was there, you participated in the fated by being who you are and doing what you do and becoming what you have become in the full and specific period that produced the person who is now in the position of the fated convergence arriving at this specific and buzzing and electric moment of their specific life. Get ready to celebrate, my beautiful soul, in the full and specific and deserved form of someone whose fated moment is arriving now, in the double and simultaneous form of the recognition and the choosing that are both right now moving toward the specific person who is reading this message and who can feel in the buzzing and electric way that something is coming right before it arrives. I want to say one more thing before I release your energy and let this message do what it came to do in the settling and orienting form of something that arrived at exactly the right moment to prepare you for what is coming in the specific and fated form that this reading has been describing. Celebrate fully when the fated thing arrives, not in the managed and contained form of someone who is still partially guarded, even in the moment of receiving what the guardedness was protecting them from fully hoping for, but in the full and uncontained form of someone who has finally received what was always fated to arrive and who is allowing themselves to be in the full experience of the receiving without the management that the guardedness had trained them into as the default response to anything good. That arrived before it was confirmed as real and lasting and truly theirs. This is confirmed as real and lasting and truly yours in the fated and arriving form of the recognition and the choosing that are both incoming for the specific person who built toward this in the specific ways they built and who is now at the moment of the arrival of what the building produced. Spirit wants you to know, before I close, that you are seen in the full and complete form of someone whose effort and whose becoming and whose continuing through the difficult and uncertain period has been witnessed by something larger than the ordinary witnessing of the people immediately around you who may or may not have seen the full weight of what you have been carrying and what it cost to continue carrying it toward this specific and fated moment of the arriving celebration. You are seen, and the fated thing is the seeing, made visible and material, in the real and arriving form of the recognition and the choosing that this reading was always going to deliver to the specific person who was always going to receive it at exactly this moment, in exactly this form, fated, in the full and specific and arriving form of what that word actually means. For the person it is said to, which is you, right now, reading this in the buzzing and electric and right before moment of the celebration that is coming, you have been building toward in the quiet and continuing and sometimes uncertain form of the period that preceded it, and that produced it as its natural and fated destination. Celebrate when it arrives in the full and unguarded form of someone who has finally arrived at the moment that was always coming for the specific person who kept going until the fated moment found them, which is now,